Good afternoon, boys and girls. This is Kosala, also known as Marventus, bringing you another one of my first-person casts from the Bronze League. This is a newbie strategy video, one where I actually win. And if you've been following along the last couple of days with the cast, I actually yesterday posted a video of me doing some really horrible macroing. And this right here is going to be a video where I actually do my macro work extremely well and nuke down my opponent. So I decided to cast this as a side note to my previous one, showing how it works out nicely when done right. So here in the top middle, Marventus as the blue zerg myself, and in the bottom left corner it was Mr. Luis Enrique. Mr. Luis Enrique, yet another son of a drug baron here. Mr. Luis Enrique. Right, looking to be the red Terran. Now let's see how we're doing at the 10 supply marker. Right here. I am producing an overlord. And then going up to 12 supply. And then going to be putting down my spawning pool. Now then, I shall apologize already in advance because I'm going to be coughing away a little bit in this. I've been down with some serious fever the last couple of days, which is why I'm only been tossing out like one video per day rather than my usual 3. So I've got my ginger tea on the left, and I'm going to plug through this game because it actually was highly educational. And I managed to get lots of stuff right here. So here's my drone running around the place, trying to get an understanding of what Mr. Luis Enrique is doing. He's got his first gas up. He's got his barracks on the way, he's got his supply depot up of course, and he is at 12 supply at this point, 2 minutes into the game. Now, I am just about to get my first gas, my spawning pool is on the way, and let's get a production tab up so we can see what on earth we're doing. So, another barracks on the way for, or is that still the same one? Oh, it's still the same one, halfway being done now. Let's take a look at the droning. He's got 1.5 rows happening there, and I have got a similar amount happening here. And my droning has gotten simply vastly better, really. It's always nice to start getting a handle on these things. The last few games have just been going much better in general. So let's see, we're now at 17 supply, and mineral count is, let's take a look at the income tab. I am slightly ahead, which is always nice, although he is actually catching up. So my droning has actually been going well this round. Let's get back to the production and go see what he's up to. Okay, my first few zerglings are popping out. I do like to get a few zerglings, potentially a few too many early on. See, I've got 6 here. Probably didn't need 6, I only needed a couple to do some early scouting around here actually. But I got 6 anyway, and I could easily have gotten more drones instead, which is really what I should have done. Overlord about to pop out so I avoid getting supply blocked, and my queen about to come out as well. Now in the meantime, right, he is still on 1 barracks. Got his engineering bay out. Oh, and he's got a refinery building there as well. So getting his second gas as well. So at this point he could be going for all kinds of things. And so far I'm seeing everything happening because my drone is still in there. He hasn't pummeled out. Oh, first marine's out there. So my drone will get chased around a little bit. And there ends my first round of scouting 4 minutes into the game. So he got his first marine out really late. And I actually got to see everything going on here up until that point, so I knew that he was not actually macroing up any kind of huge army at this point. He's taking an SCV here and going for a walk. Let's see what he's trying to do there. So he's got his orbital command coming out here, and I'm getting my second hatchery at 20 supply. Oh no, I'm not. I'm taking up to a lair. That's interesting. I teched up to a lair before. Oh, I see why. I'm actually trying to go for a quick roach rush. I see here. I've got a roach one up as well. Going to take a little early game harassment here because he wasn't doing any harassment. There we go. So, it's been a couple of days since I played this game. Had forgotten my thinking there. So that SCV taken down by my zergling that was hanging out at the Zelnaga tower. And I've got a few more zerglings looking around here in the initial stages to see whether he's getting a quick expansion now, which he wasn't. He's only got a few marines out so far. So it's safe for me to do some investment early on. So my lair just popped up same time as my roach warren. Hold on, FPS going down the toilet here. Let's wait for it to come back. There it is, making a little bit of a comeback. Right, and he is starting to get his infantry weapon, and he's continuing his SCV production. So let's take a look how it's going. He's got almost 2 rows to match my 1.5 rows. Now I just wasted a bunch of drones on production of buildings, so it's time to get my second hatchery at 22 supply. So first expansion is now up, and now I really need to drone up. So I've got a few more drones coming up, a few more zerglings coming up. Little unnecessary this. I didn't really need the zerglings. But I'm a little paranoid in the Bronze League because you never know when something's going to be rushing at you. And I noticed this expansion going up, so I'm trying to deny that here. Now his Marines making short work of one of my zerglings there, but for some reason he stopped firing at that point. And I actually managed to get that command center down because of some sloppy microing there from our opponent. Total waste of minerals there, right, for him. And now the Marines are coming out to the front field in order to defend a little. And I caught sight of that when the zergling ran off. So I now know that command center has gone down, and it's got a few Marines in the front. So I've got a couple of roaches coming out now. My second hatchery about to get done. And I'm going to do an initial roach harassment, but just to try to see if I can deter this expansion going up even further. So let's take a look at the income tabs. So he is now edging ahead because he's done a better job at droning than I have, and I've been spending my minerals on buildings, so my drones on buildings, and he's got a slight harvest to lead as well. We take a look at the units. He's got just 8 Marines out, right, and I've got 9 zerglings and a couple of roaches. Let's take a look at the production tab. I've got even more roaches on the way, trying to build up to 6 roaches before I rush in for my initial harassment. Now, in the meantime, I am now producing a couple more drones, right, and trying to keep that drone production running. And over here, I haven't as yet started to produce any serious droning because I am focusing on popping out a couple of early roaches, but in order to ensure that I have a good harassment level going for this initial rush. So those two coming to join their brethren over here, and let's see how it goes. 4 roaches here, up against a line of Marines who did not see me there, thankfully. But I just caught sight of them and backed off. Tech lab up now there on the barracks and researching combat shield. Also researching siege tech. Now we've got our full roach count going in for the kill. Let's see how I'm focus firing on the Marines. They're going down like nobody's business, and currently I'm losing just 1 roach in the entire escapade, and I'm going to go for taking down this command center once again. Should have taken down those STVs first. It took me a little while to realize that because, as you can see, it's actually not going down in health very much at all. Right, so let's see how long it takes me to figure this out. Right, we have a Marauder coming in here. Right, poorly, I should have stopped there and started firing, but it took me a little while to figure it out because I had my eyeball over here while I was busily producing a few more roaches. And in the meantime, I got another roach down in the red now, and finally realizing that I should probably do something about the SCV. And the siege tank has arrived and tech down. So I actually did not manage to take this planetary fortress down at all. Total and utter waste of effort, because I could have easily done that by simply running over here and finishing it off. Right, but for some odd reason I decided not to do that. Right, some poor microing going on there, unfortunately, but I saved my roaches and pulled back and decided to continue my expanding. So now we are at minute mark at 10.5. Let's see how we're doing. We have another queen coming out. Now that I've done my initial rush of roaches, I'm not producing any more roaches at this time and going to be droning up at this location as well. Looking to tech up to a higher tech level and produce a different kind of army composition. Now generally when this happens, my next setup is going to be quite a heavy Roach Hydra combination, followed up by Corruptors and Broodlords, because he's actually sieged into this position pretty well. He can defend that side reasonably well. Right, he can defend this climb up to his main base reasonably well. The important thing to do at this point is to stop him from expanding into these different areas and make sure that he's restrained to this 1 or 2 base play while I expand away. Right, and that's the game plan at this point. So here we are now at 36 supply, approaching the mid-game. Starting to expand my creep. Let's see if we've got any drones coming out. We've got 3 more overloads coming out to stop myself from becoming a supply block. 2 more gas going up because I've got a spire coming out. Gonna pop out some Mutalisks and do some Mutalisk harassment as well. Well, and in the meantime, I've got 4 more roaches coming up. Now, see, I'm keeping up with my unit production now, because I learned from my previous games about not forgetting to do that while you're busily macroing away. But I still have got 2 poor drone count here, actually. So if we look at the income tab. Right. Oh, actually, it's relatively even, and that's because he's also got quite poor CV development over here. So far, I'm actually in reasonably decent shape and keeping up. Okay, we have a couple of drones heading down here. They're gonna go over here and pick up a third expansion here. Right, and he's getting some upgrades. Auto tracking being upgraded, and I'm getting some upgrades too. Pneumatized copper's getting done right now. My spire about to be concluded right over here. Right, ready to move into a little bit of mutalisk harassment. Now I've got my two gases up here, but you see I haven't actually saturated them yet because I've got a huge amount of gas supply sitting right there. And I've also not got good droning going on here yet either, but then again I've got quite a large mineral supply I might have as well. So let's see what's happening here. I seem to have forgotten to get these guys activated quicker, but I moved them there. I have the mineral count now, so this third expansion, this third hatchery should be going up any second now. In the meantime, 6 mutalisks coming out and 8 drones. So now I'm starting to properly drone up in the second expansion, or first expansion rather. And the hatchery goes down here for my third. So far so good, boys and girls. Right, now let's see, we've got a bunch of mutas out here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that's plenty to go do some serious harassment, so let's poke around here and see what happens. So he's actually got a tower up, but he's got it in the wrong place. He should have parked that right over here, because that is not going to catch anything out over here. So my mutas heading down to the south location to see if I can mess with that mineral line. And again, his unit count not huge. You'll notice I'm keeping up with my roach production. He's getting some upgrades, which is not a bad idea, but he's not keeping up with his unit count at all. And in the meantime, I am nuking his mineral line over here. Let's see how this goes. Quite a few units being taken down. One mutant is before I managed to catch that. And then I leave that and come over here to mess with this one, which again, he has the tower in completely the wrong place for some odd reason. So here we go. Even more SCVs going down here. Now some serious income harassment underway. Let's take a look at the income tab now. Now I've suddenly got a good 300 minerals per minute happening above him, which is really absolutely excellent. That's exactly what I wanted out of this. Over here, droning now starting to happen, and it is time to start saturating my 2 extra gases over here as well. But, and also time to pop out a queen at this hatchery and start saturating that mineral level as well. So while I was busy doing that, I have neglected the macroing over here, but that's because I was focusing on keeping my mutalisks alive. And I've got a very nice head start happening here. Right, so I'm going to see if I'm going to pop in here and snipe a couple of SCVs. That didn't work. Got nuked by a tower. Right, and in the meantime I've got a couple of zerglings hanging out here just to see what's going to happen. So when he actually comes at me. Now here I make a bit of a mistake. You see, I haven't kept up with my macro as I was doing it simultaneously. With the attacking, and I really should have done that because my macro in this game was reasonably good in comparison to keeping up with what he was doing, but it was not good in keeping up with my attacking, because while I was attacking I should have been macroing up, and I didn't do that. I'm doing one at a time. However, it still didn't harm me that much in this game because I had such reserves built up. I was able to produce things very quickly. So I have a queen coming out here, lava up there, and I've got, let's see, we've got 2 rows there, we've got 1.5 rows there. Saturation is looking decent. Still haven't manned up on these 2 gases, but then again I don't need it either. And my supply count looking good. So now it's time to transition into some good unit builds, because at this point really I've got all the economy I need, and don't really require a lot more. I know that he is now looking to be more or less stuck in this area. He hasn't expanded because my 2 Zelnaga Tower watchmen over here would have caught that. He has no idea that I got a 3rd base because he hasn't done any scouting. And all in all, he's completely stuck at his 2 bases. Just the way Zerg would like things to happen, actually, because while this is happening, the only thing we can do is expand, 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 and we are a great race for the late game where we're just amassing armies. So I'm getting my first roach upgrades to improve their speed, getting an infestation pit, because I need to upgrade to hive in order to tech up to broodlords and corruptors, which is the easiest way to take down this kind of fortification. And in the meantime, I've got a hydralist then coming out as well in order to ensure that my ground army is extremely solid. Now let's see how this goes. For our Terran opponent. Right, he has now started to rebuild just a little bit over here. He's got his drone count at the, well, still only 1 row there. He's got only, well, almost 2 rows there, so actually falling behind by quite a large margin at this point. Let's take a look at the income. Well, no, he's actually keeping up, and that is probably because I have not actually done my saturation well enough. Yes, the queen just popped out here. And I have not lavaed up here yet. And let's go back to this. So he's spending all of his money on upgrades and not really getting very many units at all. So he's got a Viking out, he's got a a Marine coming out. But he's upgrading away, but he hasn't actually invested very much in his unit count at all, or in his expansion. So now I've got a bunch of Mutalisks running out. Actually, I used one there, no, just managed to make it. Took out the Marine that was guarding the Vilnaga tower there. Infestation pit now out. So let's see, do we have an not upgrading yet. 6 more Zerglings popping out, because I'm now rather low on Zerglings. And over here, starting to do my first little droning up really. Getting my upgrades as well now, because I've got a nice large reserve of minerals and gas. And when it gets to this point, you see I still haven't saturated these 2 gases and my gas count is still rock solid. Getting my upgrades to Zerg missile attacks, because that actually helps both the Hydralisks and the Roaches. My army count looking solid now, almost a command group's worth of Roaches, and I have a few Zerglings coming to man this Zelnaga tower to pick off any individual Marines that come charging our way. So let's take another look at the income tab now. Starting to edge ahead, or actually he's starting to edge ahead because I'm investing now in buildings and in unit production, because at this point I really don't need any more drone production. I've got the hatcheries I need, I've got the income I need, I've started to man up the last 2 gases here, and I've got my gas on the 3rd as well. Now I actually have the income going that I require and don't need a whole lot else. I'm loading up again on overlords, got my first Hydralist on the way, and at this point really it's about amassing the army and going and taking them down, because there really is no more income you need to do at this level. 3 bases is actually kind of overkill. You can do it on 2 bases in most Bronze League games. But if you are overly resourced on minerals anyway, there's no harm in getting that 3rd base. So my first 4 Hydralists out in the game. And that's still on 1.5 rows, and this is still on 1.5 rows, and that's just about to get to 1 row, which is currently giving me all the income production I require to mass up my army. So there's no reason to drone anymore from this point out. It's just about getting those armies loaded. There's another missile turret coming out and a whole bunch of upgrades. I mean, this is quite an investment in upgrades for an army that doesn't actually exist. I apologize for this frame rate. Something is going totally weird with my frame rate here. It's down to 2 all of a sudden again. Let's wait for this to pop back. Still on 2, and there we are, it's back again. Okay, so we got our batch of Hydralisks have come out now as well. We've got a nice little gathering of Hydras and Roaches, and they can start to move out to keep an eye on the front of the base here. Mutalisks still hanging out here as well. Now I currently have total map control, total economy control, and he's completely stuck in this base. So let's see how this goes. Hydras and Roaches coming out. And what is he producing? He's producing another Viking, and he's got his upgrades, and that's pretty much it. So his army count right now is really far too small to deal with this. He's got a Thor on the field, but that Thor is going to do very little against this many units. So let's see how this goes. Taking the Thor down first, focus firing it down, it goes down in no time at all. This time I actually back out to the other area, to the left area. Still taking some shelling fire from the tanks. But took down the barracks, the Thor, and a whole bunch of things. Now at this point I really should have gone, again I seem to be avoiding this left side for some odd reason. I should have just come around and nuke down this area because there's nothing defending it. But for some odd reason I don't seem to have thought of that. Now keeping in mind, this is an important thing to do when you're a Zerg. As you fight, you must replenish your army. Well, there's no reason not to replenish your army. I'm taking up to a hive as well in the meantime, and I'm replenishing my army and sending them over here to join the mass that's already gathered over here. It's essential to make sure you're replenishing the units you lose, because this is how Zerg win. You pop in, you nuke, you replenish, and you repeat. Right, and over here we've got... Let's see, yeah, that's right, we're not actually producing any more drones because we don't need to. Right, a hive being happening over here, and I'm going to take up to a greater spire when that is done and pop out some broodlords. So in the meantime, at this point, the only thing I need to do is contain him, because the win for this game is going to come through the broodlords, right, who are a wonderful late game unit and actually very, very difficult for Terran to counter. Right, so I am just amassing my army and hanging out here to make sure that he doesn't try to take another expansion or stretch out. Now I will want to try to take down this this secondary expansion, limit his economy from the front. So I'm still taking hits from the tanks, but no need to care about that too much because I've got loads of minerals. And now I'm popping out to the left side where the tanks can't reach and using the hell out of everything. So here we go, barracks about to go down. That disappears. Backing off. Not being greedy at all, just popping in every now and then, taking down a few things, popping out, popping in, taking down a few things, popping out, and replenishing my army all the time. Right, so I've got another 5 roaches, another 6 hydralisks on the way to join the army, so the army count never really diminishes at all. But I just pop in, do a foray, pop out. Because it's a good thing, because basically it just means that they have to keep spending money on replenishing the buildings. So I've got a nice bunch of nucleus now, so I'm focusing firing down the turret, and then going to deal with the SCVs. So it's looking solid now. Now we have some Vikings coming into the fray. Too many to deal with, so backing off and heading towards the hydralisks and hoping that the Vikings will come after us. Which, thankfully, they actually did very, very conveniently. So here I have my hydralisk and tanks, or my roaches coming in again for more destruction. And this time I'm gonna take that tactical forces down because it's starting to become a bit of a thorn in the side and going to be an even bigger problem for him economy-wise when this goes down. There it is, his only expansion dead, already in trouble with economy as it is because his main is completely mined out. And now the question is what to do. He has to try to get this or get another expansion somewhere. Now you see that my zerglings are patrolling all of the expansion points just to make sure I'm not being surprised. I like to do this pretty early in the game and keep doing it throughout the game, because it does add a huge advantage to know just when something starts to go down so you can plan how to attack it. So again, replenishing my lost units and taking up to a greater spire now that the hive is done. He is now down to 1 base and absolutely no income worth speaking of. Let's take a look at this. So I've got 4 times as much income going, but loads more harvesters, and he is now in serious trouble. In fact, there's basically no coming back from this because he can't actually produce anything. Right, so he's got a Banshee coming out, he's got a tank coming out, and I've got even more hydralisks and roaches coming in. Notice I'm staying roughly around the 130 food supply count. Right, and a few more overlords popping out to ensure that I don't become supply blocked. But in general, I now more or less own this. Right, and it's just a question of building those brood lords and getting them out there. So here we have an effort by our Terran player to try to take the gold expansion, which I spy from my Zilnaga tower. And I wait for him to put that down before sending a few roaches to deal with it. And those 2 roaches are plenty for this particular exercise. And he managed to cancel that before it actually becomes a problem. Right, so he doesn't lose any money there. That's a good play on the side of our Terran. Right, yes, and he just lost one SCV there. So I've got production now going from 3 hatcheries. Right, Greater Spire about to be done. There it is, just about to be done now. And my ground army is once again being replenished. So let's take a look at what we have here. I've been running solidly on approximately two command groups worth of stuff. Here come the Vikings. They get taken down in a really big hurry by the Hydras. Fully upgraded, of course, these guys have basically no chance. About to land on creep now, which makes the trip even faster for the Hydras to run. And the Vikings are going down by the bucketload. Quite a few on yellow and red health now. Will they make it? They actually made it. Look at those. Those are just making it out with, what is that? That's 1 HP. 1 HP on those 2 Vikings. They just made it out in time. And I do not follow here, because actually following is kind of meaningless. So I go back to my position of strength in this quadrant, by keeping him contained and making sure I know what's happening the moment he comes out of his base. Now, as Vikings are hanging out over here, he needs to do something to get his another expansion going, because right now he's not mining at all. He's got absolutely no income, he's got no money, and he's producing a Banshee for reasons I'm not totally clear about. I imagine he will try to do some level of mineral harassment. You see, I've actually stopped production altogether. Let's take a look over here. Yeah, starting to hit 150 supply now, well into the end game. Don't really need any more units. So I was saving up my lava for my Corruptor Broodlord transition, which is about to happen now. 8 Corruptors about to pop out. There it is, gold expansion going down once again. I believe I actually saw this from my Zilnaga tower. Yeah, I can spy this from the Zilnaga tower, so nothing is hidden from me here. I know that the expansion is going down. I'm just going to wait for the Corruptors to pop out and then go take this out. So let's see what happens here. 8 corruptors about to pop out right now. My zergling's still patrolling over here to make sure I'm not being surprised by additional bases, and he's about 35-40% done on his base here now, so this is an ideal time to pop in and start nuking the crap out of it. So here we have our corruptors gathering. What do we got? We have almost 1 row of corruptors. I've decided to broodlord up first and then go get it later. In the meantime, we have a tank moving down. See where he's headed. Yep, he's headed to get the Zelnaga tower potentially. No, he's actually going to defend the new base. We have the Zergling going to poke at it. Doesn't wind up doing a whole lot of anything, as you can imagine. And my Zergling is here in a big hurry. Right, so I lost my Zelnaga view now. But nonetheless, see, yeah, there's barracks coming out now. Let's take a look at our broodlord situation. We've got 5 broodlords now, and we've got some backup corruptors. We've got a couple more on the way, because I usually like to have like 5 or 6 corruptors to back up the broodlords. And I should be sending yep, there it is. I'm sending an overlord who's going to turn into an overseer when he gets here, because just in case there are some stealth units causing havoc. I like to be prepared. Now, our patrolling zerglings are grabbing this SCV before he can do anything, and that's the end of that. In the meantime, I've got a whole bunch of drones heading down to add more droning capacity to this second expansion, because I've run out of minerals on my main. So here we go. In we go. We have corruptors. We've got broodlords. And the Vikings managed to take down one of my corruptors. I should be focused firing down. There it is. Right, there it goes. So now I should be producing a few more corruptors, essentially the ones that I lost. Now you see here I actually came to the party with too few corruptors, and my broodlords are now at the mercy of these Vikings. However, I've got 7 more corruptors on the way, and because of my massive mineral count, it doesn't at this mineral level there is nothing further to do. This expansion is going to go down before these broodlords disappear. Ah, no, he's actually managed to nip it. The SCV is going down instead. And my final broodlord about to lost an overseer there as well. Right, my initial broodlord had a bit of a waste there, but then again I've got such a huge mineral count I didn't really care about that. So now we've got a large amount of corruptors on the way. My initial unit of melee units more than adequate for the task, so they're staying put where they are. And I'm focusing on getting my air macroing up and running. Now as you can see, this was not minerally conservative. Right, I actually managed to waste quite a lot of minerals here. And the reason I did that is because I had the minerals to waste and didn't need to care very much. Right, but ideally you should be playing slightly more conservatively than that. Now let's see if I pop any more broodlords out. I'm getting some more expansions, missile attacks, and ground carapace level 2, along with some flyer attacks as well. And these Vikings, if you remember, are actually totally upgraded for armor and firepower, because he did spend quite a bit of effort on getting those upgrades in the early game. So I've got a few more ground units about to be prepared to add to my army, and in the meantime these Vikings are standing guard over the next expansion. So we need to take that down obviously, and the main army now heading to its flanking position. And in the meantime we should have some corruptors and broodlords heading down to take down that second expansion for the Terran. Yep, a couple of broodlords popping out now. Let's take a look at our mineral count. Still very, very strong. No reason to drone up here at all. We can just focus on producing armies. But at this point I could probably have ended this considerably sooner than I did had I not wasted so many units to begin with, because we're now heading into like a 30-40 minute game really. But I decided to take it easy and be a little wasteful now that I've discovered an overly zealous amount of macroing possibilities over 2 or 3 bases. But here we go. So now this one almost completely saturated. This base still doing half saturation, and the main is now completely mined out. But as you can see, the mineral gathering level is so huge that there is really no way to compete with this at this point. Let's take a look at the income tab. He's producing barely 80 minerals a minute, a complete disaster, and I'm on nearly 1,000 minerals per minute. So there's really no recovery from this at all. So you can be completely relaxed in this situation and just inch your way forward while you decimate everything in sight. He's got a few SCVs and what are these? And mules heading down to join in on the farming over here, but little does he know that he's about to be hit by some ground units and some air units. Now I've actually put a few roaches and hydralisks in with this group in order to give it a good balance, So I've got my Overseer, I've got a few Broodlords, I've got a few few Corruptors, and I've got some Roaches and Hydras. So it's a nicely balanced sort of command group's worth of units designed to take down that particular base and then hang out over here and guard the entryway into there. Right, in case he decides to try it again. In the meantime, he's actually lifted his main base from here and parked it over there, just out of sight of my units. Right, while he tries to mine the second area. It takes me a little while to figure it out, but I focus on taking this down first. So the Vikings proving no particular problem there. I only lost one Roach and got one Roach down to red, but other than that, completely in the clear. He lifts off the command center, but of course that's what Corruptors are for. They chase it down and nuke it, and that's another 400 minerals wasted. Right, so now he is really totally screwed. So I take this group and I park it over here to ensure that I can watch the roadway properly while I now move forward with this unit. Getting a few more Corruptors to head down this way and Broodlord up. Right, notice I'm not actually using this bunch over here. My plan with them was to continue guarding the road, so since I have an overwhelming amount of minerals, I got no problem with macroing up a few more units. And I have got a Flyer Carapace being upgraded as well. So now he is basically totally screwed. Kept in from both ends, only got one base, one place to mine, and I'm about to take that down as well. So we've got some Corruptors heading this way now. You're going to Broodlord up and come in this direction and take down this lot. And I have a fourth hatchery being produced over here, which I just got for the hell of it because I got such a huge amount of mineral count. I had a drone sitting around here doing nothing, so I might as well go ahead and build a hatchery there. Right, so I did. I actually didn't do anything with that hatchery, I just built it. So what do we got here? We've now got almost command groups and a half's worth of units. Right, that is more than enough to take down any ground army that might be heading our way, or to decimate this base entirely. I'm just going to start out by taking down these defenses because those tanks do a lot of damage. And I just noticed that command post now. So I go down the left hand side, take down that one, which is the main base. The only base it's got left, and that is toast. Backing up instantly after that, you see how much damage those tanks do. That's the reason why I didn't rush in and try to nuke away, because those tanks do a huge amount of damage and they've got great range from up there. 4 more Broodligs being pummeled out over here, Broodlords rather. Right, and they will be heading in this direction to take down these long-term defenses, long-range defenses, and after that I will simply move up with my ground army and decimate away. So as you can see, slightly overly long game, running into the 40-minute marker, mostly because I was not in a hurry. Right, I was just not pushing forward with this unit up this ramp, but because of the fact that there were these guarding units parked quite well. And those tanks are not to be underestimated. Ooh, we have some cloaked banshees heading out to try to take out that base over there. Let's see how this goes. His last ditch foray into trying to achieve something here. He's hanging out in the middle, and he doesn't go forward, he comes back. And that's because I moved these guys forward. Right, and the Broodlords are now decimating the ground defenses, and there's really not much to do right now. He's got another command center building in order to try to get around this, but that's not going to go down in no time at all. The blockade here about to crumble. You notice how much damage the Broodlords do. They're just absolutely huge. I haven't got an Overseer here for some reason. And Luis Enrique leaves the game at that point. And I didn't even get to get his base down. So there you go, boys and girls. Some good macroing this time in the way that I actually stayed ahead of my opponent. Still weak on the on macroing up while doing damage, and I guess I will improve on that as time goes by. Do comment below and link to your own videos if you have similar experiences, and do like the videos if you like them, because that actually does make a huge difference in the rankings. Thanks a lot for watching, boys and girls. I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.